Story 1. If I had $100,000 in cash on me at this moment, speaking as a 23-year-old, I would invest my maximum contributions of $7,000 into my Roth individual retirement account right away. B. Allocate a percentage of it into my high-yield savings account because you never know in today's world and also for emergencies. C. Pay off any loans or debt that I have, such as credit cards, car notes, and bills. D. Invest the rest of my cash as a down payment to buy my very first home for my family and me. Given that I would be left with around $50,000 to $60,000 after paying off my debts. After that, I would work freely without a doubt in the world and be debt-free, just with a mortgage and bills. Story 2. If I had $100,000 in cash right now, I would split it 3 ways. A safety net, smart investments, and a life fund. I would set aside $30,000 for emergencies, invest $50,000 in stocks and index funds to let it grow, and keep $20,000 to travel, learn new skills, or start a side hustle. This way, I am taking care of my future but also making sure I enjoy the present. Story 3. I won about this much in a settlement. I paid off all my debt, paid off my car, bought my stepchild her first car, went on a vacation, bought new clothes, replaced all my old furniture, took a few months off work with my partner, and was able to be selective about jobs when we started working again. The very first thing I did was cry, though. After leaving the bank and realizing it's really real, seeing that number in my bank account made me dizzy. Story 4. $100,000 in liquid cash isn't that much these days. If I won an extra $100,000, I would probably quit my job and go full-time on my hobbies to turn them into a business. Story 5. Pay off all of my debt. Put 6 months' worth of living costs into an emergency fund. Max out my Roth individual retirement account contribution limit for the year. Anything left over, invest in Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. Treat myself to a succulent Chinese meal. Story 6. Pay off medical bills, student loans, and credit cards. Rest in bank for monthly utility bills. I would then be debt-free except for the house payment. Amazing how $100,000 could be life-changing. Story 7. My dad has been saving up to go back to school and learn electrical engineering since he didn't have a chance around the time I was born. He's done so much for me that I just want to see him accomplish that goal. Story 8. $1,000 to clear out credit cards. $24,000 into my kids' $529 education savings plan. $10,000 into checking to boost emergency fund. $10,000 for master bathtub conversion from shower only. $15,000 for a vacation where we don't pinch pennies. $40,000 into some kind of broad index fund. Would not contribute a dime to my mortgage, which is at 2.9%, or car note, which is at 2.9%. Story 9. House down payment. Obviously, I could get a bigger return on an individual investment, but turning rent, my biggest expense, into an investment would be better for my financial flexibility. Story 10. Pay off any loans over 10% annual percentage rate, and then put the rest in Vanguard S&P 500 ETF and forget about it. I will be able to give myself a good head start on retirement or maybe buy a house in a few years. Story 11. I would probably invest a good chunk of it in a diversified portfolio, maybe some real estate, and keep a bit for emergencies. Then, I would treat myself to a small getaway for some relaxation. Story 12. Pay off all my debt, then put the rest in a high-interest savings account, along with probably 90% of my current monthly payments. Keep my current lifestyle for a few years, then buy a house in cash. Story 13. Down payment on a house that is way more handicap-friendly than the tiny little place I'm in now. It's so hard for my wife to get around right now. I'd do anything to make it easier for her. Story 14. Oh my God. I would have so much less stress. I would get dental work done to fix my broken tooth. I would give money to my family members so they can get health work done too. I would plan my first adult vacation, pay off all my debt, and have plenty left over to start my first savings account. Story 15. Very first move? I'm going to the 7-Eleven across the street and buying those little boxed wines. I'll order weed next. I can't make big plans like having 100,000 sober. That would be stupid. Story 16. 10% for buying gold. 30% for an emergency fund. 30% for a bank deposit to generate 5.5% per year, 10% for paying my debt or credit card, 10% for any investment that could appear, 10% for any unnecessary ideas such as buying things or travel. Story 17. Pay off my credit cards, about $4,000. Max out my individual retirement account for the remainder of 2024. Max out my 2025 contributions. Pay off my car. Fully fund an emergency fund with 6 to 9 months of expenses for emergencies. And maybe buy myself something nice like a new desktop computer with maximum features. Put the remaining money into my brokerage account and buy exchange-traded funds like Invesco QQQ Trust or SPDR S&P 500 ETF Trust. Story 18. Pay off bills. Another $10,000 probably to do repairs on my house. $10,000 to various animal rescues. The remaining $50,000 in a 5-year interest-bearing certificate of deposit. Roll that over as many times as I want. Story 19. Put 15% into investments. Pay off my biggest debts immediately and have half of the money I was paying monthly for my debts go into savings. Keep this up until I retire. Story 20. Pay off my home. I have $50,000 left. Right now, I am on track to pay it off in December 2027. I paid off my student loans a few months after I graduated college, and the home is my last loan right now. Story 21. The boring answer is to invest it for retirement, as I am middle-aged and debt-free. The fun answer is a significant amount of travel, both with the kids and without. Hawaii for a month with the kids, and then some private beach for just my wife and myself. Story 22. Pay off medical debt, student loan debt, contribute to our mortgage, add to our emergency savings, and probably use the rest to take my family on a nice Disney World vacation. We are fortunate to not have a lot of debt anymore. We have been reducing it for over a decade. Story 23. A few thousand in automobile repairs to an extra car sitting there and the rest gets invested. Unless it came to me magically somehow, then I would still do the automobile repairs, but I would also have to spread some around to help a couple of people I know. Then I would invest what's left. Story 24. Pay off some high-interest debts, put money aside for the kids for college, fix up the house, sell the house, then use the equity as a down payment for a place with no neighbors. Story 25. Paying off my car, student loans, and credit card, buying a new MacBook, booking a week-long stay at an all-inclusive resort, and depositing the remaining approximately $20,000 into a high-yield savings account. Story 26. Pay off my credit card and car payment, under $6,000 total. Then, once a week, I would withdraw a couple of thousand from the bank and keep it in my safe. Half would go towards my Roth individual retirement account for retirement. Story 27. Pay off debt and put some of the rest, but not all, into a low-cost total market index fund. Be a bit cautious, as Goldman Sachs just published an analysis that suggests the 10-year return of the stock market is not likely to exceed inflation. Story 28. Probably pay $50,000 off my mortgage, take a huge chunk of that away, clear my wife and my student debts, and go on a holiday. It wouldn't totally change my life overnight, like I couldn't retire, but it would make a big difference. Story 29. Pay off student loan. Pay off parents' mortgage. Deposit for a house. Pay off remainder of car. That should be most of it. But keep $10,000 as a reserve, investment, or emergency fund. Story 30. Pay off my current debt, which is about $50,000, all things considered. I'll put the other $50,000 into Vanguard exchange-traded funds or something. Then continue crying every Monday morning as I face another work week. Story 31. Paying off minivan approximately $25,000 and credit card $3,000. Then taking my wife and kids back home to Indiana from Florida. We can't always go when we want because I'm in the military, so there's that. Then saving the rest for an emergency fund or down payment on a house when I get out. Story 32. I'd probably go for depositing most of it in a certificate of deposit account for a guaranteed return while the rates are still high. After that, I can distribute it into various investments. Story 33. The stock market has been doing great the past few years, and I don't think a recession is on the horizon. So I would invest in a total market mutual fund and let it grow. Story 34. Fix my house that flooded so we can have a home to go back to. Then use the rest to replace the items in our home, like my kids' beds, and give them some normalcy again. Story 35. Get a home for my kids. Tired of living under someone else's roof and having 2 of my 3 kids in a different state with their father. I'm a good mom. The economy has just taken a huge toll. Story 36. Already have enough liquid cash in the portfolio. Would invest it in a basket of blue-chip high-yield stocks like Altria Group, Verizon, etc. $7,000 per year in qualified dividend income. Story 37. I would get a more reliable car like a Toyota Prius, get new cochlear implant batteries, pay off my credit card, hire a cleaner for my apartment, replace my furniture, buy some new clothes and put a bunch away in savings. Story 38. Put the majority of it into high-interest savings or individual savings account. Pay off stuff I'm paying monthly, but the very first thing, book flights and a hotel so I can go spend some time with my man, since I've not seen him in person since January 2020. Story 39. Pay my debt, which is minimal. Buy a car, pre-owned but in good condition. Buy my parents a car, same as above. Give my dad $6,000 that he gave me once for an emergency and never expects to be paid back for. Hire a financial planner to figure out what to do with the rest of it. Story 40. First, I would pay off my friend's mortgage. She has a tiny amount left but is struggling just to keep food on the table. After that, I would ask a professional what to do. Story 41. Freeze it. I prefer cold, hard cash. Seriously though, I would use it for any day-to-day purchases and pay any bills that require card or cash from my work income. That should make life a lot easier for a few years and not raise any red flags with the Internal Revenue Service. Story 42. Read up on the whole exchange-traded fund thing and then put $98,000 into it and get a new personal computer for $2,000. I don't really want anything else right now. My main goal is to not have to work at some point before I'm too old to enjoy it and also have enough money while retired to enjoy life a bit. At the current rate, I can retire at about 67 and then live below the poverty line or work longer, I guess. So that $98,000 would go a long way. Story 43. Spend $10,000 on starting an Amazon FBA business and invest a few thousand each month into a Roth individual retirement account. Also, if you can, max out your 401k and other investments to avoid paying taxes and live off the $82,500.